Thank you for those words, Pastor. I am so blessed. Chad and I and our children are so blessed to be part of this wonderful body of believers. I definitely count my blessings because, not everyone can say that they're part of such a kind and genuine group of believers who have such a deep faith, deep grounded faith, and we are so thankful to be part of that. The title for my message this morning is The Biblical Version of Motherhood versus Being the Perfect Mother. If you'd like to look in the book of Ruth, we're going to read from Ruth, starting in chapter 1. Give y'all some time. Ruth chapter 1, verse 3. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left, and her 2 sons. Skipping down to verse 8. And Naomi said unto her daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said to her, Surely we will return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, Turn again, my daughters. Why will ye go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Verse 14 says, And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. And she said, Behold, thy sister-in-law is gone, back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. Naomi lost her husband, and then several years later lost her sons. She was making plans to go back to her homeland that she knew, and one daughter-in-law decided, I need to go back home. And so she did. But Ruth said, I want to stay with you. What an influence she must have had on her. Not many people have a relationship with a mother-in-law that they would want to do that, but there was something special within Naomi for her to say, No, ma'am, I will not go back. I will stay with you, and I will worship your God. She did not grow up in the Jewish way. She grew up in the pagan way. So for her to choose that, she knew there was something different. Motherhood takes many different forms. Naomi was not her birth mother, but she raised her as a spiritual mother. Ruth listened. She respected the customs. She ended up living a godly and a blessed life as Naomi mentored her. She was a wonderful spiritual mother. We think of a mother as someone who births and raises children, but I believe this story teaches us that motherhood doesn't just look one way. Some people grow up never knowing their mom or their birth mother. Or maybe their birth mother passed when they were at a young age. Some women will never have a child biologically, but may be a spiritual mother to many, or even one person in their lifetime. Being a spiritual mother can look all kinds of different ways. So that's the biblical view. But in the world, so many want to be the perfect mother. Social media can be a wonderful tool, wonderful to connect with people and learn things and all that sort of thing, but it can also alter perceptions of reality. When we aren't careful, we can begin to compare our lives with others. So-and-so just has their life together. They are just the perfect wife. They are the perfect mother. Everything just seems to go right for them. Why do they look so perfect? Why can't I be more like this one or that one? I long to be able to do one of those birth announcements. When will that be my turn? My mother is in heaven. Why don't I have a better relationship with my adult children? No situation is perfect.
That's right.
This is a fallen world. So there is no perfect relationship in any situation. And sometimes the enemy wants to distort our views on things, and he wants to use how things appear with others instead of having us rely on God's Word and what His truth is. There was so much pain within Ruth and Naomi's life. That was so much tragedy within that span of time. But what did they do? They turned to God and put their trust and faith in Him every step of the way. Throughout the Bible, we can see there is no cookie-cutter TV sitcom version of what motherhood is. Moses' mother raised him in a very unconventional way. She was able to speak into him and teach him, but she was not the one who fully raised him as far as the mother, because it was the Egyptian woman, but she was able to be there. She surrendered his life to the Lord. Hannah prayed and prayed to be a mother. Once she had Samuel, she dedicated him back to the Lord, and Eli, the prophet, raised him. The priest raised him. Elizabeth, very old, when she finally became pregnant with John the Baptist. Mary, the mother of Jesus, had an even more unusual journey of motherhood. Every part of her story, from conception through Jesus' resurrection, was very unique. Another powerful example of spiritual motherhood. I love this. It's a small story, but it's a significant one between Mary and Elizabeth. You know, they were able to meet up at a certain point. They were both pregnant. Elizabeth with John, Mary with Jesus. The timing was perfect. It wasn't Mary's timing. It wasn't Elizabeth's timing. It was God's timing when they were able to be together in that moment. Elizabeth was able to rejoice with Mary. And I'm sure Mary was encouraged. Mary, there's no telling what was going on in her mind during this time. But Elizabeth was able to speak into her, encourage her in that time. She could look to Elizabeth like a spiritual mother in that moment. There's so many beautiful stories that have been told of motherhood throughout the Word and throughout the history of time. Maybe someone here doesn't have a biological child of their own, but maybe you help raise a sister or brother's child. You're an aunt to them, but you take very good care of them, and you show them so much love and affection. Maybe a close friend of yours, that you're able to speak life into that child and help them in different ways. I have a friend from college. She is a wonderful person, and she was a music major. And she has been a choir director at middle schools and probably high schools. And I'm so thankful for her, but she's never been married. She's still not married to this day. But the wonderful thing about her is there's no telling how many opportunities she has had to be a mother figure to those students in her life. It doesn't just look one way. Maybe Maybe your mother who was blessed with one child. That's my story. My mom was blessed with me. Maybe you're a mother that has multiple children. Maybe you don't have a biological child, but you've had foster children or have adopted in your life. Maybe you grew up without knowing your mother. Maybe you lost a mother. Maybe you were raised by an aunt, grandmother, or sister even. Maybe you grew up in foster care or were adopted. No matter which of these you may fall under, think. That's my challenge to you right now, is to think about the impact that different women have had on your life. I love to think about different women within the church that I grew up at. I love to think about the different women that I've gotten to know throughout my life. I think about the women here in this church. You ladies cross my mind all the time. I lift you up in prayer, and I thank God that I have you in my life. My mother is wonderful. We are very close. But I know that I am also very blessed. I have a wonderful mother-in-law, and I have all these spiritual mothers right here in this church body. Maybe there is a teacher in your life, maybe a coach, a friend, a sister, a grandmother, a Sunday school teacher, a woman pastor or a pastor's wife, a godly saint who has prayed for you. All of these have made a special impact. Now, my next challenge is for you to think about how you can make an impact on someone's life, whether they're your biological child or not. Women, this is your calling. Ask God to help you care and love for those who need someone to love and care for. Ruth didn't grow up knowing the Lord. She grew up, like I said before, as a pagan. Naomi loved her like she raised her and taught her who God is and how to follow His will. We are part of the family of God. We must love and care for one another. You men too. I know I've spoken a lot about the women tonight because this is Mother's Day, but I extend the same to you men today. Encourage one another. Intercede for one another. Rejoice for one another. Be there for one another.
Praise God.